Live like a vegan king for $50 a week. Welcome to this series, my friends. And this series was actually inspired by a challenge my brother did recently. If you haven't seen it, check out the Live Off $21 a week. That series was revolutionary for so many reasons, but what I really enjoyed about it was how creative my brother had to get because of all the restrictions put on him. I mean, the guy had $21 to live off food, so he had to throw out a lot of the normal things he does in his daily routine. He was forced to get super creative. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are new to the vegan world in general. I know when I got to New York, the word vegan, it was like foreign language to me. So you've got your vegetarians. Most of us know what that is. You don't eat, slaughtered animals, fish, whatever it is. Vegan, you take it one step further. You don't eat any animal products at all. So you can't eat dairy products, you can't eat that delicious cheese, you can't eat eggs. Some people take it as far as, say, honey from bees. It's a little intense, but I understand if you're really going for it. The truth is, I am not a vegan at all. I eat meat, I eat fish, I eat animal products. I do this strictly for health reasons. I eat a lot of vegan stuff because I feel great when I do it. I know a lot of us out there have trouble with our diets. It is one of the trickiest bastards to figure out. Let me tell you, not that long ago, I was confused. I really just ate whatever I wanted. I didn't necessarily feel great, and then I started doing some research and slowly started to incorporate some of these vegan elements to my diet. So things like more fruits, more grains, more vegetables, and over time, it was a slow and steady battle. I started to feel better. My energy levels started rising, happiness levels, all those classic good things were rising a bit. But the thing is, when you're dealing with meat products, they're super easy to prepare, and I think that's like a big thing for a lot of us out there. It's a go-to. You slap on the steak, you sear it up, salt and pepper, it's gonna be delicious. So when you're dealing with a vegan diet, you've got to get super creative. I know when I started, I was just making salads. It's like, okay, how am I gonna make vegetables? How am I gonna prepare them? I'll just chop them up, dress them. That's the standard thing. And then you start looking into some of these recipes out there, and they are mind-blowing. You start changing it up and you start recreating food with vegetables, and everything changes. The food tastes just as good, but you're eating it and you feel great when you're eating it. So that's what I'm going to show you guys. I have a bunch of cool recipes that I've learned over the past few years, and then of course we're going to get wild and creative and see what happens on our budget. But first, of course, we got to go to the market and prep and shop and do all that good stuff. I'm headed over to my favorite little market just around the corner. Awesome little mom and pop place. They've got a great variety of stuff. It's not the most inexpensive market in the world, but I think it's gonna be a great selection to choose things under 50 bucks. And I also like supporting these guys. They're fun. They're the type of people that, if I wanted something in the market that they didn't have, they'd probably put it in there for me. So it's a really cool place. So let's see what we can make happen. So this is your classic tiny New York style market, kind of in between a bodega and a regular market. But the great thing is they have everything you need except a fishmonger and a butcher. But you know what? We don't need those things, so we are in luck. When you're going in to shop for some vegan food, please do not go straight for that vegan section. We want to avoid at all costs those fake meats and all that bullshit. We're trying to get whole foods here. The good stuff, the vegetables, the grains, the nuts, and all those yummies. One of the issues right now is that we only have $50. So I'm not gonna be able to get as much fruit and as much vegetables as I'm used to. That stuff definitely costs a little more, but we gotta budget correctly. Things like bananas are a fantastic fruit that are super cheap. They'll last you a long time. Apples are great too. Those are usually cheap and they're very versatile. When it comes to getting vegetables, if you're on a budget, definitely stick with those root vegetables because they're gonna be really cheap, but they're also very hearty. Things like sweet potatoes, carrots, onions, beets, and they're also great because they store very well. They'll store in your fridge or outside your fridge for a while. When I'm looking at fresh greens and lettuce, I would normally get things like spinach and kale. We've all heard those are super good for you, and they're great to incorporate into a lot of dishes, but they are a little bit more expensive. So I'm just going in for that one big cabbage because that thing is gonna last me a while, and there are so many different uses for it. Try to avoid the fake meat. That stuff gets pretty expensive as well. I tend to go for those meaty vegetables like eggplant and mushrooms, but I don't necessarily have the budget for that. So I am just gonna get a really cheap packet of silken tofu. I love cooking that stuff, and there are a lot of different ways to cook it. When I was going through the shopping process, I wasn't necessarily concentrated on overall price. I was really just going for cheap ingredients, trying to kind of balance everything out, just winging it. So I brought it up to the cashier, we rang it up, and I was a bit over budget. I wasn't in good shape, I was in a serious crunch. Luckily, she was super nice and very helpful. She actually recommended a lot of things for me. So we sat there for 20 minutes just like exchanging things. She was like, you know what, you got the rice, you don't need that, bam, bam, bam. There were definitely a few cuts that I had to make that were pretty tough. Things like sugar, that's gonna be an interesting one. And a few more ingredients I'm just used to having. Had to cut them to get under 50. Also bought these beautiful plants back here. Those are a birthday present. Yes, it is my birthday, but I am not counting those on the $50 budget unless I just get super hungry and just start eating succulents. But we're gonna hope that does not happen, because the first thing we are making is a muffin. Now, my brother's girlfriend showed me this recipe and it blew my goddamn mind. It really changed my life. I make these every week. I hope you're gonna make them as well. It's really cool. It's like this superfood muffin. You just throw a bunch of stuff in a food processor and you've got these delicious things that really satisfy your carb cravings. So hopefully I'll make a batch of these and they'll last me a pretty good while throughout this challenge, maybe a few days. To start it off, I'm gonna take out my food processor and sprinkle in about half of my bag of oats. The cool thing about this recipe is you can kind of just wing it. It comes out different every time, but they're always gonna be delicious, I can guarantee it. Grind those up until you get an oat flour. It's a really good trick, just really start grinding it up. Then I add 2 bananas, and I usually add dates at this point, but I couldn't afford the dates. I had to get rid of the dates, so I'm adding just a few chunks of my apple. I like adding a little bit of salt just to bring out all the flavors. And then I had some ginger, so I just grated that in. I figured I gotta get back some of the flavors that I'm missing, so a little ginger will never hurt. You start processing that and it starts to become like a doughy texture. It really comes together. And this actually is a great vegan pie crust. You'll see these type of recipes, so you could stop there, use that as a pie crust. That would be awesome. But we're moving on. We're gonna start emulsifying in, well, just pouring in, you could say, almond milk. Just keep pouring that in until you get a smooth mixture. This is where things start getting very interesting. I took a zucchini and just grated that up. And if you guys have ever heard of zucchini bread, we're taking those elements. Zucchini actually works great in these sweet little treats. I also love to add chocolate to mine. That is completely optional, but I feel like it just hits the cravings even more when there's a little bit of chocolate sprinkled in. So I rough chopped some chocolate, I added that to the zucchini, I added the batter in there and just started mixing that up till it was all incorporated. And right there, I thought it was a bit thick, just kind of feeling it out, so I added a little more almond milk and just continued to mix. Do you know the Muffin Man? It is muffin time, so I took a muffin pan and I oiled that up. And if you couldn't tell by now, we are not counting oil, salt, and pepper on this $50 challenge. Those are free, everybody has them. I ice cream scooped some of that batter in there, and I just put those in an oven for about 30 minutes at 350 degrees. They come out, just let them cool. I mean, you can eat them hot. It's hard to not at least eat one. but they do great in the refrigerator. So what I'll do is I'll put those in a bag and just throw them in the fridge. And those are gonna be great for a few days. I'm telling you, you can eat them in the morning, you can eat them at lunch, just a snack, whatever you want. They're awesome. But we're moving on to lunch. I cooked up some white rice, just figuring, you know, why not? I'll have this in the fridge for the next few days. It should go a long way. But the first thing I wanted to make, because I was super hungry, was a fried rice. So I took some of those vegetables, I peeled my one big ass carrot, and I made sure to save all my scraps because I need all the flavor I can get on this budget, and I can make a delicious veggie stock later. So I put that in a Tupperware. Then I just diced up the carrot. I took out my cabbage, I gave that a rough chop. I sliced off about a third of one of the onions I had, and I chopped that up, and then some garlic. Got a pan on super hot, added in some oil, and just threw in all the vegetables at one time and just started sauteing those up, getting some color on them. I hit that with a little bit of salt and pepper, and once I thought that was sufficiently fried up, I started adding some of that rice. I mixed up the rice and veggies, and then I added my soy. I just hit that with that seasoning. This is a really cool trick I like doing. I flatten out the rice just so it gets super crispy on the bottom, because that's what you're going for. You want that fried flavor, and then I'll just start peeling it off, but I'll let it sit there for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes at a time without touching it. I grated in a little bit of ginger, and then I took one small slice of lemon because I only have one lemon for this entire week. I juiced that in there, and just because I have so little of it and I need the flavor, I even just cut up the lemon as well and threw that in for some extra love. I did the same flattening technique a few times until I really had a nice brown fried rice that I was happy with. I put that in a Tupperware and I ate that for lunch, and that kind of carried over into dinner as well. I had some muffins as well. And that is day one, my friends. Day one's over. We got the shopping done with and a little bit of prep. Super excited for day two. It's a full day of cooking. I'll see you for day two.